I told my wife not to dance with him. She laughed, brushing off my words with playful. What's the big deal? But I was serious. I had a feeling that gnawed at me the moment I saw him walk toward her on the dance floor. The kind of feeling you can't explain but know is there, growing heavy, suffocating. It was supposed to be a night of celebration, a friend's wedding. Music, laughter, food, joy. The kind of night everyone hopes for. But the moment I saw him approach her, my world shifted just slightly, but enough. He was smooth, too smooth, the kind of man who knew how to say the right things at the right time, make the right gestures. I'd seen him around before. He worked with Sarah, my wife. She spoke of him casually, like he was just another co-worker, but the way he looked at her, that wasn't casual. When he asked her to dance, I felt the words rise in my throat, almost instinctively. I placed my hand on her arm and said, "Please, don't." She laughed, completely unbothered. "Oh, come on. You're not jealous, are you?" Her smile was bright, teasing. But I wasn't joking. I wasn't being possessive. I simply didn't like the way he was looking at her, the way he was touching her, as if it was something more than just friendly. I didn't smile. I didn't laugh. "I just don't like the way he looks at you," I said quietly but firmly. Her face changed, just a little, confusion creeping into her expression. But before she could say anything else, he was already pulling her toward the floor. She hesitated for only a split second, then went with him. I stood there, frozen for a moment, watching them, the bitter taste of helplessness starting to crawl into my chest. They danced slowly, their bodies moving together in perfect synchronization. Too slowly for a fast-paced song. He whispered something into her ear, and she laughed, a sound that felt too soft, too intimate, too real. Her hand landed on his chest as they moved together, and I felt a tightening in my chest, something sharp and painful. I didn't want to make a scene. It wasn't the right time. This wasn't about ruining a wedding. It was about something deeper, something I couldn't explain. Minutes passed like hours, and still they danced. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I walked away from the crowd, needing air, needing space. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe I was being paranoid. But deep down, something inside me knew this wasn't just about one dance. It was about something bigger, a connection between them that shouldn't have been there. Not at all. When I came back inside, I found them sitting at a table, their heads leaned in close, talking in a way that felt too intimate for just co-workers. Sarah looked up, noticing me, and smiled, but it was forced. I could see it in her eyes. I sat down beside her, without saying anything. He greeted me with a knowing nod and a smirk. I didn't return it. The ride home was quiet, a silence that stretched thick and heavy between us. She could tell I was upset, but she didn't understand why. "Are you really mad about that dance?" she asked, her voice tentative. I stared at the road ahead, trying to keep my cool. "I told you I didn't want to dance with him," I said, my voice flat. "It wasn't just a dance. And you know it." She scoffed, turning to look out the window. "You're overreacting," she muttered. I shook my head, my hands gripping the wheel. "There's something about him I don't trust," I said, my voice quieter, heavier. "And I don't like the way he treats you." We didn't talk much after that. The tension between us was palpable, the kind that clung to the air, thick and suffocating. Days passed and weeks. She became distant, colder. Her phone was always with her. She stayed late at work more often. My gut screamed that something was wrong, but I didn't know what. One night, after she had fallen asleep, I did something I promised myself I wouldn't do. I checked her phone. I hated myself for it, but I couldn't help it. I wanted to trust her. But when I opened the messages, there they were, flirty texts, inside jokes, plans to meet for drinks. His name, in black and white, showing me things I didn't want to see but knew I had to. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't sleep. My chest tightened, as though I'd been punched. I felt betrayed, even though nothing had truly been confirmed. The next morning, I confronted her. "Are you cheating on me?" I asked, holding the phone out in front of her. Her face drained of color. She didn't deny it immediately. She sat down slowly, her hands trembling. "We didn't sleep together," she said quietly. But that wasn't a denial. That wasn't reassurance. That was guilt speaking. Did you want to? I asked, my voice shaking now, the anger and hurt mixing together. She started crying, her tears spilling over as she whispered, I don't know. He made me feel seen. You've been so distant lately. I laughed bitterly. I've been distant? I begged you not to dance with him, and you laughed in my face. Her tears only fell harder. I didn't mean for it to go that far, she sobbed. I didn't think it would matter, but it did. I stood there, unable to speak for a moment, just watching her cry, the weight of everything unsaid between us pressing down like a heavy fog. It mattered to me, I said, my voice cold, like I was speaking from somewhere far away. And you didn't care. We sat in silence for what felt like hours. Finally, I moved into the guest room that night. She tried to talk to me, but I couldn't look at her the same way anymore. The trust once so solid had shattered, and once it's gone, it's hard to ever rebuild. Weeks turned into months. We went to counseling. We tried to fix things. Some days were better than others. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw him, his hand on her waist, the way she had brushed off my feelings, the way she laughed. It played in my mind over and over. I started working late, not out of spite, but because being at home with her hurt. Every time I looked at her, I was reminded of everything I had lost. The peace, the innocence, the belief that she would always choose me. She apologized. Over and over. She promised she'd cut contact with him. She even switched apartments at work. But the damage had already been done. Even if he was gone, the crack he caused remained. One afternoon, I received a message from him. You can't keep someone who doesn't want to stay, it said. I didn't reply. I showed it to her, and she broke down in tears, deleting his number. I want to stay, she said, her voice pleading, her hands shaking. I wanted to believe her. But healing doesn't happen overnight. I told her it would take time, that we have to rebuild everything brick by brick, and that I couldn't promise things would ever be the same. We kept trying. We went on small dates, talked more, held hands like strangers. It was awkward, unfamiliar. But sometimes, I saw glimpses of who we used to be. Other times, it felt like I was forcing it. But I stayed. She stayed. And slowly, we began to rediscover each other. Not in the way we once had, but in a new way. One that was raw, honest, and painfully real. I still remember the moment she laughed and said, "What's the big deal?" That moment echoes in my mind. It's a reminder of how fragile love can be, how easily things can break. But it's also a reminder that sometimes even broken things can still be mended. Not perfectly, not easily, but with effort, love, and a willingness to listen when someone says, "Please don't."